Hello, everyone. Welcome to Feedstuffs 365. We are at our, let's see, it would be early in the week weather update with meteorologist Greg Soulje. Welcome, Greg. Thank you for being here.
Always a pleasure, Sarah. On in our part of the world, a beautiful day's worth of weather for a March 20. Oh, wait a minute. It's not March. It's May, isn't it?
I can't remember
May
what part
20th.
of the week it is, and you can't remember what month it is, but we're going to tell you what the weather is.
Well, the weather's not matching the month in some areas, and particularly my part of the world and folks north are into Wisconsin today. So that's the point I'm making. It's just like, other areas, yeah, but I don't know. I'm ready for spring in my part of the world.
That window you've been talking about in terms of being open, being closed, I think it closed.
Pretty much slam shut in many areas, well, just about across the board, and we'll take a look at that and kick around some rainfall numbers. And here we go, off and running on a Tuesday, the 20th of May. And yeah, for some areas that are stuck in the 40s at this late morning hour, downwind of Lake Michigan and northward from there, it is more or less a March feel out there. But despite that, well, we've got this range of temperatures. They're still going to be peddling 80-degree weather into parts of the upper Midwest, south of the Ohio as well. Meanwhile, from about the I-88 corridor northward, 40s and 50s expected for the day today. You ain't getting any growing degree day units out of that, nor any warming of soils. You're probably going to be losing a few degrees. But despite that, now this is prior to, I think these numbers are taken late last week, prior to the rains of the past 12 to 24 hours in many areas of the Corn Belt. We still have made good progress as a whole, as a nation, on the bean side of things. 66% of the soybeans intended acreage have been planted as of May 18th. And again, we've talked about part one of the equation, planting, and in some areas delays, and part two, no one's taking into account there's more rain and we're getting wetter and not very good rain numbers coming in as in bigger. And part three, the dryness and drought stuff is coming down the line. But we're putting kind of the cart before the horse here. We'll take a look at that. And we talked about it last weekend on This Week in Agribusiness, and we'll continue to do so moving forward. On the Plain States, the crop, and there's been spring and summer warmth and heat prior to the onset of cool weather and rain too, which really has covered a wide area of the Dakotas over the past week to 10 days, widespread 1 to 3, and some pockets of even heavier numbers where those numbers are coming into the mid and upper Red River Valley of the North this morning. Crop development on the wheat side of things is ahead of pace. 64% of the nation's winter wheat crop headed by May 18th. And so it's largely into some of the drier, drought-ridden areas too. The averages for the 5-year run at about 58%. So a little ahead of the game there, but a wide range of temperatures. Again, they are the upper 30s and 40s across the northern plains for the day-to-day, and heading towards 80 to 90-degree weather down through parts of central and south Texas. Southern states, and this is going to be sort of the north end, at least the south end of what's going to be this wider, much wetter weather pattern. Ohio Valley's central and southern Corn Belt down into Dixie. Boy, last week, southern Corn Belt, Kentucky beat up with severe weather. That was last Friday. Recovering from the April rains down through Kentucky, the flood watches are up and hoisted, and just these multiple bands expected to rotate on through, and skies are actually clearing off. And when you get that, the sun destabilizes the atmosphere into these cold core lows. Another one of these things that generates wind and wide-ranging temperatures and just sort of warbles its way out of the Corn Belt, at least out of the plains into the Corn Belt locale. So where we bust into some sun, the clouds build in that same column, and you're off and running with thunderstorms, which will be a slight risk to moderate risk. I'm not sure if I put that in the cells for the day today, but I-70 corridor on southward, once again, that Springfield, Champaign, Indianapolis line, and points on southward, you hit I-64, moderate risk. That's the same area, by the way, that had that dust storm fiasco as far north as sections of northern Illinois and southern areas of Lake Michigan. Actually, we lifted the air, brought the dust up at the same time. I've been telling my radio friends down there in Champaign and Danville, Illinois, and parts of the central Corn Belt, I've got a few acres of topsoil for you here in my backyard, even on my car, from all that stuff of Friday of last week. Topsoil moisture is in surplus mode. Alabama, Arkansas, Kentucky, Mississippi, North Carolina, some of those mid-Atlantic areas in North Carolina have reversed course, are now into, again, surplus soil moisture coming off dryness and drought, which there's still some work to do out there, but we will continue to make significant inroads in that particular part of the country with dryness and drought. Pretty quiet weather picture, a little frost into parts of the Intermountain West, Great Basin, high elevations, Four Corners area, not unusual, no significant major ag areas out there, a little chilly for maybe some livestock and ranchers. So there's the Tuesday afternoon weather Madsen charts, and look at the deep shade of green running from up past the U.S.-Canadian border, southeastward through the better part of the northern and eastern Corn Belt locales, and have been, by the way, on the overnight hours. Soaking rains widespread 1 to 2 across much of central and southern Illinois, about half to about an inch across Indiana into South Michigan. There'll be some 1 to 2 local 3-inch amounts total out of this across the Dakotas to the Twins down to about old Milwaukee, Madison. And where you have that red hatched area, that's the epicenter, probably severe weather getting going, maybe far south tip of Illinois, down to Memphis again, western Kentucky again, and northern Mississippi again, with a dry high pressure building in across the central and southern plains. Tonight, that severe weather end moves back into the same areas, mid-south, Tennessee Valley, parts of Lower Ohio Valley, soaking rains of an inch, maybe inch and a half into central and Indiana, much of Ohio. They'll be ongoing through the northern Great Lakes region, kind of reversing course where some of those northern Corn Belt areas have had a little shortage of moisture. Now we're getting into the wetter pattern, same with the northwestern areas. So everyone, despite dryness and drought in the shorter term and topsoil moisture, ought to be moving back to normal, if not surplus. Subsoil moisture, different story. That certainly takes into, when we take a look at that, the drought monitor. And the rains continue and the winds are off Lake Michigan. Another delightful day in my part of the world here through northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin with rain. There may be a little wet snow mixed in. Don't freak out. Bismarck, Aberdeen, Mandan, north of the Canadian border. Remember a few days ago, well, maybe a week to 10 days ago, 90-plus degree weather there. These cold highs are still there. They will be responsible helping to make rain still into at least the first half of June in many Corn Belt locales. It's July and August that we're getting concerned about. So again, 3-part equation. People are forgetting the middle part of the equation with the rainfall. And there it is still lingering late Wednesday, and by Thursday, still some shower activity, slow drying, muddy grounds, all that east of the Mississippi River. Wouldn't be surprised. There's a patch of frost, maybe in the parts of north central Nebraska. Northwest Iowa, parts of Minnesota. I don't think it'll be enough to nip probably emergence. It's probably 2-3 inches out of the ground, I would suspect, on average in those northwestern Corn Belt locales. And the rains will be soaking and drought easing into the northeast of New England. There's the next 48 hours with the expectation of about a solid inch to 2, as mentioned, across the better part of Minnesota, Wisconsin, northern Illinois, into the eastern and southern Corn Belt areas. And then we pick it up again, another inch or 2 on top of areas that just absolutely do not need any more moisture. I'm sure some of those equine operations are dealing with pasture lands that are too wet, too muddy, standing water, all that across the bluegrass state. So the headlines are one weather system moving through. We just talked about it in detail here the next 2 or 3 days, northern and eastern Corn Belt into the northeast of New England. Patchy frost. I don't think it'll be anything to impact the summer crops. Probably same with the north end of winter wheat, but enough for mid to late May, where we've got readings down to the mid 30s, and so that's the story into the Great Lakes region, upper Great Lakes region as well. Now there's another system, at least for now, a little farther south, but it has the same characteristics: cold, high pressure to the north, northeast wind flow, and there's a boundary that sets up. Gulf moisture and heat work northward. We overrun that cold surface, and we're going to be off to the races with another 1 to 3 inch rain event. I think some of the numbers that folks might be hearing from National Weather Service offices from either a rain total standpoint, some of the models I think are underdoing rainfall totals in the central and southern Corn Belt and the points on southward for the holiday weekend. So like I've been telling people on the radio, going to have plans B and C in mind, roughly I-80 on southward, in particular, the heart of the central and southern Corn Belt and east central plains, for more rain, more severe stuff south and south of the Ohio into early next week. So Friday, one low wrapped up across the Great Lakes region. Saturday, I put a border behind those titles, and it didn't work out very well, at least from this vantage point. One warbling low across the northeast of New England. You see a little buckled U-shaped trough. That's what we call them, coming through the plains into the Corn Belt, and then kind of just stalling out there between Monday and Tuesday. So there's more rain back in the forecast. We're beginning to see in this evolution here, if we kind of take a sidestep away from the rains that are coming up, we talked a couple of weeks ago about this Omega Greek letter weather pattern where you have almost what you see in that top right panel, low there. The other swing around is in the other low into the northeast of New England. And in the middle part of the country, what you see on the last two panels, a little ridging up aloft, it's that configuration that's trying to establish itself. That'll be probably a 2, 3, maybe 4 week scenario going from here forward. But we've got the Omega configuration beginning to show on up. So that is usually a harbinger of cutting off Gulf moisture. Systems coming over the top of the ridge. They tend to be more dynamically driven, less in the way of moisture with time, more in a severe weather sense across parts of the northern and central plains and a northern and eastern corn belt with time. Again, Friday through Sunday to Monday and Tuesday, you can see that system coming out of the southern plains, those northeasterly winds, the clockwise flow around the high. That's another cold high. You try to get Gulf more warmth and moisture northward, you've got another boundary setting up over the southern plains, and probably up to about I-80 would be the organized rains, and the meat and potatoes of another 1 to 3 are going to be probably, again, somewhere along the Iowa-Missouri border, cut it across into central Indiana, central Ohio, and points on southward. So again, more rain in the forecast for now over increasingly wet areas. And there are the two headlines going forward. Hazards, if you will, patchy frost into the northern Great Lakes region going through the end part of the week and early on into the weekend. And there's that area that we talked about. Just take that heavy rain area and just kind of propagate it eastward over the holiday weekend. And it kind of lines up along and basically south of the I-80 corridor for inch or more rainfall totals anticipated. So cold soils getting wet, roots aren't going anywhere. We're seeing that middle part of the equation come into fruition, at least around here we do. Next 7 days, there's the big rainfall numbers. Don't need it in those livestock areas of the Ozarks, Missouri Boot Hill, Mid-South areas, Ohio Valley, southeastern and southern plains. Once again, that Wichita, Oklahoma City, Dallas-Fort Worth line and points east where it's wet, you're going to get more rain. Where it's dry, maybe not so much, and a little something into the northwestern part of the country. There is the drought monitor from last week. Significant inroads. Eastern and southern corn belt, mid-Atlantic region showing a big improvement, still lingering into the northeast of New England, but we'll make improvement there. Still a world of hurt, but again, there should be some categorical improvement showing up on the next couple of drought monitors for those eastern Dakotas, eastern South Dakota, western Minnesota, parts of Iowa, northern and western Illinois, with, again, the weather system now and the other one expected to come on through for the upcoming Memorial Day holiday weekend. No change in the Southwest. We'll need a hurricane, big monsoon season, whatever you want to call it, and Florida hurting big time. June 1 starts their rainy season down there. We'll see what happens if we bust into fires first because of lightnings and then make some improvement into soil moisture reserves in that part of the country. The general right idea, there's no big racking up of growing degree day units, no official at least endorsement of the Weather Service here. Boy, those folks are hurting. Saw an article, I think it was the Wall Street Journal, in defense of those guys. Yeah, because that's a tough business to get into from a government standpoint. And there are a number of National Weather Service offices now, one through the Upper Lakes region, one through Kentucky, several through the northern plains and western states. Typically you ought to have a 24-hour operation. Private weather services are run that way. When I was working for Earl Finkel, we were a 24-hour operation. Severe weather happens anytime, all the time, and at night's the worst time in the spring and summertime season. So we'll see what transpires, but this is the general right idea. Cool soil, slow emergence, slow crop development, slow drying out, warmth over the western part of the country. And there it is. That's probably a pretty good representation. I think a little bit too heavy in the southern states, should be a little wetter into the middle part of the country, but the general right idea and systems across the west as well. So we are not, again, throwing the switch. It's not going to work that way if we go into the dry and drought thing that everyone has talked about. We've got the middle part of the equation that we've got to deal with down the line here in the weeks to come. So that's it for Tuesday on a delightful it's May day here in the weather office, Sarah. I hope it doesn't snow around here, but it will later on tonight, tomorrow.
Oh, gosh. I'm not looking forward to that. Yes, definitely some rain. We needed rain, so that's much appreciated. we need the warm temperatures back, of course. And I'm sure that, we need the stuff to dry out pretty quick. So some folks can finish up their field work here in the Midwest, upper Midwest anyway. So, and of course, dry out in some of those areas that really have a lot of rain. So
that's right.
Unfortunate.
That's a few weeks to come project there. And again, there'll be pockets that continue to make good inroads. Like I said, there's going to be a narrow corridor somewhere where everyone is perfect. And that's going to be too much of something and not enough of it. And that's the way we'll go forward later this spring and summertime season. Not gloom and doom, just speaking the truth here.
There you go. And we'll check back with you, Greg, on Friday, get an update. And of course, you can check out Greg's forecast every weekend on This Week in Agribusiness, and go to feedstuffs.com, Feedstuffs 365, and you can see Greg's latest forecast as well. So we appreciate you, Greg. Thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us.